Hoshiana. But it's really borrowed from Tachanun. It's borrowed from the times when we were asking Hashem to save us. So that's the point, is to bring in, as Rabbi Nachman says, to bring in the negative thoughts, the negative parts of ourselves that don't want to be happy, that don't feel the light, that don't appreciate that we are beloved, and to bring them into our joy. To unite the two polarities of our lives, the high and the low. I bless us all that we can be in a place on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur where the singing is true singing, the singing that lifts all of us up to really know that our lives are in Hashem's hands and He's the master of the world. And to really expand our awareness of what's going on in the world. I just was sharing with you and your husband that the verse from last week's Haftarah, the first verse, is Kumi Ori, Kiba Orech, rise and shine, your light is coming, Hashem says to us. Rise and shine, Kumi Ori, Kiva Orech, your light is coming. Uchavod Hashem alayich Kumi Ori, Kiva Orech, Uchavod Adonai alayich zarach. And upon you Hashem's light has dawned. And upon you Hashem's light is dawning, has dawned. Even if it says has dawned, it's jumping into the future and telling us what will happen in the future, and it's calling it past tense. Zarach has already dawned on you, even if you're in the midst of your darkness, but to know that Hashem is going to shine on you, and that you're going to know that you're filled with His light, and it surrounds you, and it's been there the whole time. So now, even now, in the midst of darkness, you can rejoice. And then the next verse is, Ki inei choshech yichase eretz, for darkness is covering the earth. Va'arafel le'umim, and thick darkness, fog, is covering the peoples. This always struck me. The Sfaradim say this in Havdalah, so it's these two verses, so it's something that I get to think about every week. It struck me very strongly. What's the difference between darkness covering the earth and arafel, thick darkness, the peoples? What do you think is happening there? Have I ever said this in this class before? If I have, it doesn't matter because it's Torah, we're learning it. And every time we learn it, we get more out of it. So what do you think?
The thick darkness is obviously the American presidential debate.
It's Syria, it's Lebanon, it's Iran, it's Libya, it's Egypt.
It's North Korea.
Right? No, but that's the choshech is the basic. Okay, it's dark. But when it's dark,
but when it's thick darkness, you can't move.
Okay, but the point is, what does it add to us when it says le'umim? There's eretz that's dark, and le'umim, the peoples, the nations, they're in thick darkness. It's thicker than the darkness that's already there. There's a natural darkness, but you can work to see it. You can work for the light. But no, they're making it even darker. So that's a situation that just strikes us so deeply. We're seeing that's the mind, the mentality of humanity is you don't have to be that dark, right? And yet it is. So that's my take on it. Can you continue to tell me what you think?
Meaning mental confusion?
Mental, not it's mental evil. Mental confusion, mental evil, whatever, it's mental though. It's a deeper darkness than necessarily need be.
Maybe it's that only the people can create this kind of darkness. Hashem creates a natural darkness, but we're recreating
something along those lines. So it's up to us to clear away as much as we can. And what Hashem is saying to us, and He says, Ki choshech chasei eretz, ve'arafel umim ve'alayich, but upon you, yira'eh Elohim. I have to do the whole verse again, sorry. But upon you, Hashem's light will dawn, and His glory will be seen upon you. So that starts with Kumi Ori, rise and shine, rise up, get up, which Kumi always means get up from the dust. Kumi mi afar, lipshi bigdei tafatech ami, come up, get out of the downtrodden level that what exile does to us, and come into a state of geula, and to total understanding, which Rosh Hashanah is going to give us, of understanding that Hashem is the Melech, Hashem is the one who's in charge. All of these guys, all of this whole thing that's happening, right? He allows it to happen. He has a plan for history that allows mankind to get into such a dark place. But it's really the darkness before the dawn. And so we have to really be holding in the meta-historical level of what's going on. We're in a moment in history that's before huge things. But he wants us to be mishtatefito. He wants us to be his partners in knowing and understanding his plan. It says in the 4th verse of Psalm number 2, Yoshev b'shamayim yitzchak, Adonai yil'ag lamo. He who sits in heaven is laughing, or he's smiling. Hashem yil'ag lamo. He's mocking them because they think they can control the earth. So all of history is one big messianic process. And as it gets towards the end, it's the forces of darkness are going to try and actually take over, a full control takeover. That's their dream. And what Hashem allows them to do towards the end is the coast is clear. You guys can do whatever you want. Why? Because he wants them to come out of hiding and to reveal themselves. Because usually until a certain point, they work through others. They train and they have their training centers and they inculcate and they drink something, please. And they train people, called the Manchurian Candidate idea. Powerful training methods, mind control. And they create a mindset, and then they control the people of the world, or the different nations of the world, better than Paro ever did. Because with Paro, you knew that he was a despot. But with the modern Paro, he makes you think that you're totally free. So why do I want to say all this before Rosh Hashanah? Because Yechase Eretz V'Arafel Umim Aval Yizrach Hashem Alayich, Hashem is shining upon us. He's giving us a chance to know and to see the whole plan and how it really is ultimately moving towards something very important. And our part in it is to go into Rosh Hashanah to understand Melech. The main word of all of Rosh Hashanah is Melech. He is the king, which in modern terminology means he's the director of the movie. He's the author of the book. And we are the players in his drama. All of life is a stage, a drama, and we are the players, right? We were sent down here from Shamayim to play these roles. To get that kind of larger picture as you go into Rosh Hashanah, what's going on is not just you and me. It's not just what we want in our personal lives. It's expansive to the entire history of the world from Adam until Mashiach. The prayers that we're praying are totally messianic, are asking for not for the little things, we're asking for the actual maximum, nothing less. That makes sense? So that sets the stage for how we go into these days, where our awareness is what's key. We call it's a function of consciousness. When we maximize our consciousness, our dot, our chokhmah and our bina and our dot, which we know we don't have any, right? But what we're trying to do is expand ourselves to know to understand that there is a knower. There is one who knows, and to connect to his knowing. He expands us. For instance, this is an exercise that I learned from my dear friend Daniel Katz. He says that you should look at the walls. I'll do a very short version of it. Look at the walls around us. There's each one of us is facing a different direction. So the wall to your right, for some of you, is that wall, or this wall. The wall in front of you is. Right. Check out the room. Feel the room. Look at the books. Pay attention to the bookshelves. To the keshet, to the arch in the middle of the room. The fixtures on the ceiling. Now close your eyes. This is really a much, much accelerated version of it, so forgive me. Now, with our eyes closed, to the best of your ability, feel the walls. Feel the wall to the right of you. Feel the wall to the left of you. Feel. I'm saying feel, not see. You can open your eyes if you want to, but really what's going on here is we're trying to understand a very, very important principle, that our mind catches things that our physical senses don't catch. Or let's just say that as we are seeing the walls of the room, as we walk into a room, our mind, there's a certain part of our mind that gets much more than we consciously are aware of. Is there a better way to say that? You know what I'm saying? Anybody say it better?
It's subconsciously taking in what you're seeing.
It's a superconscious.
Superconscious.
It knows much more than we know. And so when your eyes are closed, and one lovely example that I have is that I had relatives who were here for a while, and we went to the Kotel on Shabbat. It was 5:30, 6 o'clock, a lovely time of the day. I always advise to go. It's so beautiful with Am Yisrael walking around and just on a holiday or a Shabbat, and the feeling you get of Am Yisrael, this beautiful sense, and the heat of the day is waning, and the breeze starts to blow, and all you have to do is look at everything and then close your eyes and notice the difference. That when you're closing your eyes, just like a blind person, they say, can feel and sense more than somebody who sees. So when we close our eyes, we access that part of our mind that knows and sees much, much more comprehensively than our physical eyes. So that's what I'm doing here also. In a sense, you're expanding the boundaries of your mind to the walls of this room. It doesn't have to be with any effort. You don't have to go from right to left and from front to back and from ceiling to floor. You just know you're in the room and you allow yourself to know it. The same thing you can do when you come back into your body. You can know that you're the consciousness within your body, within the skull, right, that houses your brain, and within the body, the rib cage that houses your heart and your lungs, and your stomach and your legs. You are inside of your body, and you're utilizing this vehicle, this incredible vehicle, to be conscious, to be aware. So when you go into shul, and you enter shul and you bow, you should always bow a little bit, they say, when you come into shul, as an acknowledgement that you're coming to Hashem's house. In a sense, the best time to be in a shul is when nobody else is there. If you sit down, or you even go up to the Aron HaKodesh, and you open up the curtain, and you open up if that's possible nowadays, and everything is locked and is safe. But being in a shul alone is a very beautiful experience. Anybody ever had that?
Just this past Shabbos.
And when all the people come in a sense, you lose it because people, right? But what we try and do is, wow, yes, it's still here. It's still here. That's why they say the one who goes into shul first, the first one who goes into shul in the morning is the greatest reward. I don't know what they mean reward, but for me it means he gets that sense of godliness that's there in the shul. And if you close your eyes and you feel yourself in the shul, and then when you learn to do this, then you can do it anywhere you go in the forest. You can be on the top of a mountain. You can turn around 360 degrees, and then you can close your eyes and you can see all, just like a gyroscope. What's it called? Huh?
Kaleidoscope?
No, gyroscope. Something you used to use on submarines. Periscope.
Periscope.
Right, okay. So it sees everywhere, and we don't need the physical eyes. What I'm trying to do is just to expand, to be able to feel that we're in a much larger space, and then to come back into ourselves. And that's a preparation. There's even levels of spatiality, expanding our space, expanding our time, and knowing that we live within the present, but really we live within the total eternal present, which includes the past and the future. So we can connect to our total past and to not only our own personal total past and total future, connect to our ancestors and connect to the future that's in front of us, about to unfold. We can be lifted up like the prophets were and see all of space-time from above. Hashem wants us to be able to do this. In chapter 40, Perek Mem of Yeshaya gives us an incredible verse where he says, Hashem is looking like, he uses like a compass. Apparently, a compass was something new back then, the time of Yeshaya. A compass has a vertical thing that's right down in the middle, and it has a longer diagonal one that makes the circle. And the Meforshim on this verse, I could look it up right now and tell you, but it says that when you see the earth, which is the point in the middle, from the point of view of the larger view of heaven, that's what the prophets used to do. They used to expand their mind. They didn't have movies, they didn't have animations, they didn't have anything else that we have now. They did it with their minds, with their spirit. So we too can utilize those same tools, those same faculties that are sleeping in us, that are, so to say, dormant, but to awaken in ourselves these higher faculties, to be aware of Hashem in space, to be aware of Hashem in time, and then the next higher level is to be aware of Hashem as the creator of our souls, to connect to all the souls that are above us. So there's time, space, and consciousness. These are all things that are spoken about in our books. And then we come back always, here I am. I'm in this place, I'm in this time, and I am me. Whoever I am, Hashem, I know now that I don't know who I am. And now I want to pray to you. The Kohen Gadol is the archetypal dugma, the paradigm of this. On Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, in the holiest holy place in the world, the Holy of Holies of the temple, and the man who is considered the most kadosh, the Kohen Gadol. So you have, again, the confluence of who you are, where you are, and the place you are at. All this is preparatory for going into the holidays, to think about ourselves within the larger picture. Maybe sit a little bit further away, okay? Drink, of course, and then sit in a place, if you don't mind. Or take a lozenge, yes. Okay, please I didn't mean that he should leave, but so. Okay, I want to get to a question that you asked. And in order to do that, I want to pass out the sheets that I have here. I'm not sure we have enough, so if there aren't, please share. Not too much to deal with. We'll try and look at these 2 pieces from Rabbi Nachman and 1 from the Baal Shem Tov himself. Last week, we tried to go deeply into the idea called vidui, of speaking out to Hashem, articulating. Articulating what we remembering and bringing it into into words, what we feel about what we've done, who we are at this point. We do it in the words of the Machzor. We do it a number of times, especially in Yom Kippur, but also during the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, the 7 days leading up to Yom Kippur. We do Aleph Beit, viduis, confessions, coming clean. I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. It's always usually in the plural. We have done this, we have done that. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, we have stolen. Dibanu Dofi, we've spoken we've spoken with a two-faced. He'evinu, V'hirshanu, Zadnu. It gets kind of more heavier. We've done things on purpose. Hamasnu, we've corrupted. Tafanu Sheker, we've made lies. Yatznu, etc. We've told people the wrong advice in order to utilize them and to what do you call it? To benefit by their ignorance, to trip them up. So many of us have not done any of these things, certainly not in our conscious memory. So we said that one of the 3 reasons to say vidui is that maybe we did do something, but we're not aware in this lifetime. Maybe we did it in a previous lifetime. And if it's neither of if neither of those, then maybe somebody else who we're connected to, or anybody among our people has done this, in which case we also have to say that we do. So it's a collective responsibility and a cleansing. And we made a point last week that when we have a good sense of self, a good positive sense of ourselves being beloved, being worthy of Hashem's love, then when I'm admitting my mistakes, it doesn't take away from my value. It doesn't make me feel rotten and that I'm no good, because I'm not saying I'm no good. I'm saying what I did was not right. And I should have known better. If I would have known then what I know now, I wouldn't have done that. And we said that also that when you do certain things and you do them over and over again, you create a kind of a hardened personality structure around those actions. And it encases your essence and co-ops your essence, and you become something other than who you really are. So these are deep ideas. We dealt with them last week. And the one question that Rebecca has is, what good does it do to say these things? What's the power of speech that we're trying to utilize here that's going to make a difference? Is that basically the question?
Yes. I want you. What is about the verbalization? What is it causing? Why does it have to be spoken?
Anybody have any ideas? We have the Rambam. We quoted the Rambam in Hilchot Tshuva, and he said it's a big thing. V'hitvadu. He uses the word vidu, which is reflexive, which is admit to yourself. Admit to yourself. We have the Ramchal in Akirat HaRatzon, the end of the 4th parak of Mesilat Yesharim. if I really intend to reclaim and uproot the will, the energy that I use to do a certain deed, or let's make it simple, that I use to do a certain thing, and I uproot it and I reclaim it. And we said tashlicha, that I wait for the sins to come back to the top of the water, and for the good that was in me, the energy, the kedusha that's in me, that was used to do the bad thing, and I wait for it to float to the top, and I take the good back. So the idea of speech, of verbal, is that if something is inside of me, and it's called in English in the old days a free-floating anxiety, something is bothering, but I don't want it. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if somebody did something to me or I did something to somebody else. So verbalization is bringing stuff up from it's being mixed, right? And me not being able to identify it and put my finger on it. It's bringing it up, at least theoretically, making it cognitive, bringing it up and saying, oh, here, look at this. It's like wearing a pair of glasses and wearing them for so long and so often that you forget you have glasses on. And when you take them off, and oh my goodness, now they're an object of my perception. They're not my perception. Now I can say, I was seeing through these glasses the whole time, and I thought it was me. Now I see that the glasses that I was looking through were really colored glasses. That the deeds that I had done had created a certain way of looking at things in me. And I thought that was normal and that was me. Now I take them off. That's what verbal articulation does. It allows me to see it for what it is, as opposed to having it mixed inside of me. That's my understanding of the Rambam's explanation of Vidui.
In the article, it spoke about this idea of Elohim and Yud Kei Vav Kei. And so
Right.
I was just trying to understand also what was that connection. Somehow Vidui is creating something between those two aspects of.
Okay, so that's Rabbi Nachman. Do I even have a copy of that? I don't have for everybody else, just for anybody who was here last week. So Rabbi Nachman is Torah number 4 in the Kuti Mara. He brings a verse from, well, how should I do this? This is only in order to get to other things, but it's important that we touch with what we did and clarify. And if you don't have this, and if you were not here last week and you're here this week, I can send it to you as a PDF file.
But it's the broad thing we're talking about here is Vidui or different thing?
Right now we're talking about Vidui because we need
Also
clarification.
Likutei Moharan that you're
Likutei
discussing?
Moharan that I'm doing now is about Vidui.
Okay.
Yes, which was from last
Right.
week, but we didn't do it inside. We just gave out the text. So at one point on page 2 of the text that we gave out last week, who does have it? Okay, this is the second page of the set we gave out. If you're near anybody, you can show it to them also. I'll start with this because it's the second from the last paragraph. He says, a person's transgressions are in his bones, or on his bones. And he brings a verse from Yecheskel. I don't have the Hebrew here, I just translated it. It says, your avonot, your transgressions, their transgressions will be etched into their bones. So and Rabbi Nachman explains, bless you, the meaning behind this is that each avera, each transgression, has its own negative letter combination. Now, we have an idea that every mitzvah in the Torah that's written in the Torah, right, is a verse. And it says, do this or don't do that. And it's a letter combination. Then when we do something against the Torah, it's the prophet Yecheskel said that each, based on the idea that there's 248 limbs, the human body, according to Judaism, and that there are 248 positive commandments. There are also 365 nerves or blood vessels or sinews. Nobody knows exactly how to do it anymore, but there's 365 negative commandments. So the total here is that if I do something with my hands, then and I do something against what the Torah says, then the letter combination from the mitzvah in the Torah that I've just transgressed is now scrambled in my hand into a negative letter combination. When we commit a particular sin, a negative letter combination is etched onto our bones. This brings the spoken aspect of the prohibition, which we have transgressed, into the realm of impurity, that the words of the Torah are now etched in me. This based on very profound understanding of how the Torah, the interaction or the interrelationship between us as human beings and the Torah, that we're a 613 and the Torah is a 613. And so when we do something, the Torah, the mitzvah in the Torah that we've transgressed changes its letter combination.
That's the idea of Tuma then.
Yes, he says it's brought into the realm of Tumah, of impurity. Spiritually, it's its equivalent to bringing the divine Malchut, which is connected to speech, into exile among the nations. So Rabbi Nachman's whole worldview here is that the nations of the world, and this is an idea it's very essential idea, is that there's no such thing as evil on its own. Nothing has power except God. Nothing empowers things except God's power. Well, then how does evil exist? Where does it get its power from? What's the answer? It steals it. There's incredible texts about this.
But God allows it to be stolen.
Each one more interesting. It's not normal to share things like this in a class like this, but somehow what we call the Sitra Achra, the side of evil, is interested in capitalizing on our ignorance as we grow, as from childhood into adolescence, that we don't really know what the right thing is. So we're liable to do all kinds of things and make mistakes, to the extent that King Solomon said, there's no such thing as a person who's totally righteous, who has only done good. That's not what earth life is about. Life is the possibility of mistakes and almost the inevitability of mistakes. It's really a world of tshuva. It's once you've realized your mistakes, then your job now is to rectify. That's why the first verse of Psalms, King David, the archetypal Baal Tshuva, is all the things that can go wrong in your life. And from verse 2 on, right, is what you need to do to fix. So it's interesting. So if it's true that evil has no power except what it gets by hook or by crook from the side of holiness. So its desire is like a thief. It wants to steal. It wants to make us do things. It has an agenda. And that's called in Kabbalah, bringing the Malchut down into exile, is using the power of holiness and using it and utilizing it to build Paro's Egypt, to build Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, to build civilizations. It's built on the energy of Am Yisrael, right? But it's totally antithetical. So that's why we have a very deep tradition that there'll be 4 exiles before Mashiach comes. Before the 5th kingdom, there'll be Babylon, there'll be Persia, Greece, and Rome. And we're in the last stage of the Roman exile now. And that Egypt is not counted because Egypt had all 3 aspects. And Rome itself has 3 aspects. There's a whole thing about this. Please forgive me for having to say all these things and complicate matters. But the prophets looked up from above, like what we said about Yeshaya, Isaiah. He looked from above and he saw the 4 exiles, or 4 mindsets that are based on illusion, and that the prophets gave us a bird's eye view of what's going on. Truly Hashem is the one who allows this to happen, because we distorted the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey of Hashem's name. But at the end, the Mashiach, the Messianic kingdom, is the rectification of the true aspect of holiness that's in the Yud, that's in the Hey, that's in the Vav and in the Hey, and bringing everything back into perfection. So I have to get out of this hot water that I've gotten in here. Explaining Rabbi Nachman is not a simple thing.
That's why I read it in this little.
I get tonight. I mean, you're focusing on this concept of evil as the stealing whole thing, but isn't there also kind of a physical properties corollary way of understanding the similar thing, which is sort of that it's like built into the fabric of the universe that evil must needs attach itself to good, like positive, like negative to positive. Like therefore, where you find holier situations, you have some of the craziest evil situations that you say, how can this happen? It's such a holy community, it's such a holy city, it's such a holy. Why is this crazy thing? Why are these klipot attached to this? Because what's the fun of attaching to like not holy things? There's no koach there, right? So it's almost like a physics. It's like magnetism.
Right. Our job is to transform. Is to transform ourselves and transform what is presently called negativity into the absolute better holiness that could never have been if there hadn't been the negativity. So there's a reason why Hashem allows this whole thing to unfold. Okay.
So the verbalizing of al-Chet then is this way of releasing whatever that energy is inside of us by using our mouth. Somehow you're undoing the damage to your
exactly what he says, by means of vidui dvarim, which is the articulation of what I've done and the dissociation of self from the thing that I've done. That's basically it. I'm bringing the malchut of holiness out of its klipa form, out of its exile form, by bringing my own self out of the identification with the false personality that I've created by my actions. So it's the same action. I'm pulling and reclaiming self. I'm reclaiming holiness. I'm building the Beit HaMikdash from all the sparks of holiness from all over the world where they're scattered and bringing them back. It's not that we have, right, okay, that's it. He says, by means of vidui dvarim, however, the negative, in his way of saying it, the negative letter combination disappears from the bones into which they've been etched. By virtue of the words of the vidui, they are transformed into positive combinations. The reason the vidui has this power is because speech actually emanates from the bones, and he brings a proof verse. Kal atzmotai tormana, Adonai, mi chamocha. All of my bones will say, which the Zohar says is the resurrection of the dead. When they'll resurrect, they'll say, Hashem, who is like you? And it's an amazing thing that we have this. Is on one of my books, I say that in the Kedusha, we say, Kadosh, 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 Hashem. The fourth word is Hashem's name. And then we say, Baruch Kavod, Hashem. The third word is Hashem's name. And then we say, Yimloch Hashem Le'olam. The second word is Hashem's name. And the resurrection of the dead, it'll be Hashem, the first word. We're coming closer and closer to full revelation of Hashem in our lives. No longer hidden, no longer concealed. So that's what Rabbi Nachman uses here to say that speech emanates from the bones. Not that we understand what he's saying. He's a very deep thinker. By coming clean in vidui, we thus tear down the negative structure and the letter combination and build the positive structure of what's called the Malchut Kedusha, the kingdom of holiness, the kingdom of the Mashiach. So I'll send it to anybody who wants it. It's a wonderful Torah, or you have it in that set here, which is on the shelf here. It's a black set. It's in Torah number 4 in the first volume of the English translation of the Likutei Moharan. It's an amazing thing.
So you're in the process of vidui, right?
You're doing vidui, yes.
Right. And you're verbalizing all these actions that you may or may not have been participating in. Okay. And then where does the idea of forgiveness come into play? So you're vocalizing it, you're shedding it, it's coming out of you. But how do you forgive yourself in the process? Where does that come in? And how do you know if you can really truly forgive yourself if it hasn't been verified that Hashem has forgiven you? Like how, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Isn't the essence of the day atones, no?
This what?
The essence of the day atones. It's an automatic forgiveness.
This is like, if we had a class that we met 5 days a week every morning, and the same people were here every time, I'd have a much easier time. So those of you who have not been here, you'll forgive me for speaking in a certain way, and I can't create the wheel every time. And even then, I don't know if I can answer your question. Forgiveness is so important here, forgiving ourselves. I would say, first of all, that tshuva and vidu is a cleansing that cleans me. Rabbi Akiva said in the Gemara on Yoma, Ashrechem Yisrael, happy you, O Israel. Lifnei mi atem mitarim, before whom do you purify yourselves? He was referring that the temple had been destroyed, and Am Yisrael was kind of sad that the destruction, there was no more Kohen Gadol, no more Yom Kippur service. It all centered around the Kohen Gadol. Without the Kohen Gadol, how could we ever become pure again? So Rabbi Akiva, in his incredible X-ray vision, is saying, Ashrech Yisrael, happy you, O Israel. And he knows who he's saying it to. He's saying to people who are broken. And he's giving them strength. Happy you, because, okay, we don't have the Kohen Gadol, but we have the one himself. We don't have a temple, but we have the process itself. Because time is higher than space. And even though we don't have a temple in space, we have the holiness of time, the Yom Kippur. And she saw, before whom do you purify yourselves? Umbi mitayar tchem, and who purifies you? Avichem shebashamayim, it is your Father in heaven. Shneimar, as it says, Mikveh Yisrael Adonai, Hashem is your hope. And it's a play on words. Could have been said tikva, but he said mikvah on purpose, because hope is like a body of water that you enter into. Oh, first, actually, he said before that, he said, V'zarakti alechem mayim torim utahartem, I shall sprinkle upon you purifying waters, and you shall be purified. Which is sprinkling, which is only drops, which corresponds to before whom do you purify yourselves? You have to do the work of purification to the extent possible. And you'll get drops to help you. But who's the one who ultimately purifies us? That's the mikvah. When we go into God, and that's the water of the mikvah. That's the power of hoping in Hashem beyond whatever any of us can do. We become cleaned. So I'm connecting here, cleaning, becoming clean, with being able to forgive myself. For sure, to be able to forgive people who have hurt me. It's to our benefit. The first thing we do on Yom Kippur night is to forgive each other. You know why we do that? The secret of forgiveness. As I say, there's two areas. I know it's a little bit jumpy, the whole thing. There's nothing I can do. There's what's called ben adam l'chavero, between man and man, or ben adam l'makom, between man and God. So if we clear between each other, between ourselves, I forgive you, you forgive me. I know it's hard, but I don't want to hurt you again. I don't want to do anything wrong to hurt you. I really feel bad. You forgive me, and I forgive you. So then we can come before Hashem. If we don't forgive each other, if I still have something against you, and I come before Hashem and I say, forgive me. He says, well, how can I forgive you if you still have something against her? Maybe I have to look into your issues here. What's going on? So it's to my benefit to pull back any problems that I have with you and to say, Hashem, I'm clear with everybody here. Horizontally, we're all clear. Please, all we need is from you. So these are, and it's not really getting to the essence of it, what I'd like to get to. That issue here of seeing the benefit of forgiving others who have hurt us, like we do every night. We take it from Yom Kippur. I forgive and I pardon whoever has gotten me, who irritated me or has bothered me or hurt me, whether in my body, my possessions, this, they meant it or they didn't mean it, with their words or with their actions, in this reincarnation or another, I forgive them, I pull back. Why would I do that? I don't like this guy, I don't like what he did to me. Because it's to my benefit to stand before Hashem without any issues between me and anybody else. And if I do that, then I can come and interact with this guy, and he can't push my buttons anymore, because he's not my issue anymore. I pulled back my emotional problems, and he is who he is, and it's his problem, not you anymore. It's his problem. So I hope that's what I just went through. I mean, if not, it's all written in my book, Days of Awe. But do the best I can to explain what I understand to be the process behind, the dynamic behind all these things.
So would you say that works as well with the self? That if one person does not forgive themselves during that process of vidui, then they still have that layer that's blocking them to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu.
There's two different things. Vidui and vida, it's an excellent attempt. I mean, and I have to think about it. Vidui is one thing, forgiveness is another thing. Let's just do with forgiveness for the moment. Slicha, mechila, it's called mechila, slicha, and kapara. Interestingly enough, there's three terms that we use, and there's usually three terms for chet. Chet, avon, bepesha. And the three terms for forgiveness. So chet is a mistake, is an error. Avon and aver are both of them the same thing. It's not so bad. I rationalize. Okay, so it was too much. I couldn't help it. It was too big for me. And anyway, it's not so bad. I changed my value system all of a sudden. So then the next stage down is, this is what I want to do, and this is who I am. That's the hardening. So mechila parallels, you made a mistake, I can pardon you. Just don't go down to avon. But then I have to work harder to do slicha, which is there are some who say that mechila and slicha, mechila is more powerful. Whatever, I've seen this myself, but I sense that mechila is, even though I still know you did something wrong, I'm willing to pardon you in English, mechila. Slicha is I'm willing to forgive you completely. If only you will stop doing your rationalizations and come clean and be honest, then I can forgive you. I can pull back all of my, and we didn't get to myself yet. And the next one is atonement, is kapara, is also called cleansing, is complete cleansing. That's a deeper job. That's much harder work to do when somebody has identified with their negative actions so much. And the person who hates others is really the person who hates himself. Deep stuff. So what about forgiveness of self?
When you say each one of these levels is something that we could do to someone who approaches us to ask for such and such a level of forgiveness. Like, I'm familiar with, you say mechila. But with kapara, my association with that is like something bad happens to you, and you say kapara. Like,
usually,
you're trying to.
The verse in Psalm 130, Shir Ma'alot Ma'amakim Ki Imcha Slicha. Only with Hashem is slicha, pure. The complete ability to clear. It's forgiveness in the sense of complete clearing, and kapara all the more so. So yes, there's a lot here that can't be clarified in the midst of trying to answer deep questions like this.
So Rabbi, is the idea of 10 viduis, like that you say it's vidui 10 times on Yom Kippur, there's an idea that that's metaphysically undoing all of that damage. That's the reason we have to have each one. Does it correspond also to the sirot or anything, or it's just 10 for no reason? Or
if there's 10, I haven't counted, but if there's 10, then it would be definitely a correspondence. But it's definitely it's something from Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia. He says that when you do it, is you do it one after the other, then there's less resistance, and finally it's a cleansing process, just like washing a piece of cloth that's been stained. So every time you're getting more out and more out until you're getting back to the original cloth. Atonement is coming back. Actually, it's this interesting thing because it's coming back to who I was before I did anything wrong, but with the net gain of having the wisdom that I've gotten from the whole process. Really, so in my book, I call it the net gain of sin, ? Is there a net gain? And again, why did Hashem make the world that we actually are always constantly in danger of doing wrong and many times doing it? Is because there's a net gain when I do tshuva. I don't sin on purpose. The Baal Shem Tov is very strong on this also, because he came after Shabtai Tzvi, who taught that you should sin on purpose. But don't ever sin on purpose. But if you do something wrong, come immediately back. Return to yourself. Return to who you really are. And then you'll lift up what was supposed to be lifted up in the process. That you couldn't have lifted up if you hadn't sinned. But don't tell anybody that this is from Hashem that we sin. Don't ever use the system against itself. Don't ever, chas v'shalom, take advantage of, I'll sin. Oh, yeah, I'll sin. No, right? It's a very sensitive issue. The Gemara in Yoma says, Echeta ve'ashuv, lo notnim lo lashuv. The person says, I'll sin, and then I'll do tshuva. I'll sin and I'll do tshuva. Meaning, say, I'll make a game out of it. In Shemayim, they say, no, it doesn't work like that. You can't do tshuva for that. Don't misuse the system. Okay. Whether I've actually answered any questions, that's a big question. Here we are. Three deep Torahs. The top one is for the Baal Shem Tov. From the Baal Shem Tov on the Torah. And it's on the bottom, it says it's from Keter Shem Tov, which is a book of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. No, it's not there. It's not. That's a different pile from there. So it's not this. You can have it, but it's not going to help. I don't have any more. So share. Well, there's a pile. Great. Thank you. So I don't have time to do everything it says here. The point is like this. The point here was that there's this famous thing about Elul that comes from the Alter Rebbe of Chabad, that during Elul, Hashem is like the king in the field. So I found the source of it in the Baal Shem Tov here, and it's very beautiful. So he says, it's on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth line from the top. In the middle of the line, there's a comma after the word Habayit. And then the next word is Kimashal HaMelech, like the analogy or the parable of the king. Okay, you got that? Kishehu bebeit malchuto, when the king is in his royal palace. I efshalid karev elav, you cannot get close to him. Kolkach, kimoshu bederech, you can't get as close to him as when he's on the roads, traveling through his country. There's much more royal procedures. You can't just get in whenever you want. But if the king is traveling around, right, which is called the king in the field, so he's easier to approach. She'az yuchal lidkarev alav, you can approach him more easily. Kol mi sherotze, anybody who wants. Afilu ben kfar, even a villager. She'enu hagun, who's not really on the level, lavo lefanav, to come before the king, uldaber imo, and to speak with him. Even a person who's not capable of coming into the presence of the king and passing through all the various different levels that you have to pass through to get into the king's palace. No, when the king is outside of the palace, all that changes. So the Baal Shem Tov says, it's not just Elul. He says, Kach hayom begalut, that's what it's like now in our time. The whole world is Hashem being in the details of our lives. He's not just in his palace. He makes himself available to us. We don't know that. Things are happening, we trip, we stub our toe, the person takes too much money from us, or yells at us, or looks at us. All those are Hashem talking to us, of making us aware of himself in our lives. But in a way, then once we know this parable, I don't like those things happening to me. But when we do know that the dog at the gate, or the person, or the gate that I tore my shirt on, or my pants on, or that something happened, or I tripped and I fell, all those things are Hashem in our life. Again, not things that we like. We don't enjoy them. But they are reminders. When you have that type of consciousness that we were talking about at the very beginning, the reminders to connect ourselves. This didn't happen by chance. So he says, so is it in exile. When Hashem is connected to Hashem in his inner being and knows, at least knows, understands that everything is Hashem. I don't say we really get it, but you at least know that such a state exists. Then Hashem is dwelling with you, and he is your neighbor. He is right next to you. As I like to say in my books, he is that poor man sitting next to you. The king, when he's sitting next to you, dressed as a poor man, that's deeper than seeing Hashem in heaven with all of his entourage around him. There you know it's Hashem. Here you don't know. Here it's like, oh my goodness, that's also Hashem. Hashem hides in all the events of our lives. That awareness, that consciousness is what we have now, that we're building up. So again, to explain all that, the basis is knowing to the best of our ability that what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Iraq, what's going on in all these places, in Iran, in these people's minds, what's going on in America, what's going on in all these places, the darkness that we feel, Hashem's plan is unfolding. The Mashiach is present. The light of the Mashiach is shining into our lives. And that means all the way down into my life and your life. And that means even the things that we have to go through that are difficult, and the money in the bank that's not there, or whatever else is bothering us. That's opportunities to come into a deeper relationship with Hashem as King, as the director and the author of our lives. Nothing is by chance. If you were making a movie, and you are a master movie maker, and you are developing your character, and people were going to see this millions of people are going to see this film, and they're going to say, oh my goodness, this character is amazing. And look what he went through, and look who he became as a result. So let's see the movie again. And let's see it second and third and fourth and fifth time. And let's see it with a teacher who can tell us, oh my goodness, the director himself, why the first scene, exactly why the first scene, why you were born where you were born, why you went through the schools that you went through, why your parents were the way they were, why your brothers and sisters, why you lived in the city you lived in. That's the beginning of the movie. All of that is incredibly down to the last detail. It's part of the director's making of the movie that's going to bring you to where you are right now. So it's your job, to the best of your ability, to remember, whether you do it in writing or in your mind, go back and remember the different parts of your life and see the director's hand. See that all those things were not by chance, that you are playing a role, and that now the point of your being now here is to awaken consciousness that your life is part of this story. That's an important point. How do I make that better? What I want from everybody is that we realize that we are souls who have come down to this planet at this time to play very important parts. And we're not playing them yet. Okay, we are playing them. But we're not playing them yet. We didn't get it yet. But we're playing them, but we're unconscious. So what's expected of us now? How do you come to consciousness? How do you come Uri? What does waking up mean? That's what Yom Kippur, that's what shofar is about. That's what Rabbi Nachman says about shofar, that we said last week also. It's a call to wake up, it's an alarm clock. And I'm trying to get it myself. How do I wake up? Look around me. Look at my kids and my grandchildren. Look at what I've been given. Each one of us has to do this. and just thankfulness. Even though we're not conscious yet, I still thank you. I thank you for the little bit that I have. Because when you thank, then you change the energy. As Hashem says, you're finally getting it, that I'm the one who's giving this to you. Now I can give you more. Now I can give you higher levels. My code word, my battle cry for Rosh Hashanah is, Hashem, lift me up to the next level of my life. Please allow me to come into the next level of my life. The Gilgul that we're in now, what we've had to go through till now, we're trying to learn what we need to learn from it. Allow us all to come collectively and individually to the next level. Let us truly be Am Yisrael, the people who serves you, who knows you. Now, this little thing from Rabbi Nachman, is that okay if I do that, or is it?
Please. Yeah.
This is a deep Torah. The one on the left, the bottom, it says Kuf Mem Hey. It's a book. Where's the book? It's a book of a compilation of Rabbi Nachman's teachings that comes through Rabbi Natan, which is called Likutei Halachot, which then comes into here by Rabbi Nachman Chirin. He's a student of Rabbi Natan, and he saw that Likutei Halachot is so, it's almost like the Talmud. In when you're talking about the laws of Sukkah, he goes and he talks about Hanukkah. He talks about how to wash your hands in the morning, how to say a bracha and Netilat Yadayim. He's all over the place. So Rabbi Nachman Chirin took and put into categories what Rabbi Natan does in his Likutei Halachot. And here in a 55-page section called Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. All of them in one box. He brings Torahs from all over the entire Breslov system. Here you have two of them. One is called Kuf Mem Hey, and one is called Lamed Vav. On the left it says Ikar Atchala Hi Rosh Hashanah. The main beginning of the new year of a new beginning of our lives is on Rosh Hashanah. Umi Rosh Hashanah nimshach achiyut batikun lekol hashana kula. And it's from Rosh Hashanah that the life force, the chiyut, and the tikkun, the rectification for everything in our lives comes for the entire year to come. Or perhaps even for the year that just passed. And I would say not just the year, the whole life that has passed and our entire future and our entire past. These moments, these Rosh Hashanah moments are like standing on a mountain saying, look what I've come from and look where I'm going. I'm in the middle. I'm always in the middle between the infinite past and an infinite future. That's scary. That's a really special thing to do. Stand in Tzfat and overlook the Beit HaKvarot, the Ari, the Ramak, Rav Yosef Karo, and look over to Maron in the distance. So, wow, this is the place where you see your life. How did I get here? Where have I been? Who brought me here? And what will it be from now on? How will I know that you're with me, Hashem? I'm between the past and the future at every moment in my life. And then if I expand it, I understand that my present now includes my whole past, includes my whole future. Okay, so Rosh Hashanah is that kind of a consciousness. V'alkin nikra Rosh Hashanah Rosh, that's why it's called the head, Daika, precisely. Ki yesh gimel komot, olam shana v'nefesh. There's world, space, there's time, and there's soul. 3 dimensions of reality, like we said at the beginning: spatiality, time, and soul connection. And just like in the stature of the soul, Shuhu Adam, which is personhood, which is each one of us. Ikar Chayut Talui Baharosh, the main force of life. Even though he could say that it's the heart. The heart is more the force of life, and the brain is more the commander in chief. But he wants to say that in the way he's talking now, is that the commander in chief, even though it's not as strong as the heart in terms of physical muscle, it's more subtle, but it's the commanding it's the center of operations, and that's why Rosh Hashanah is the center of operations for the entire year. So he says, Tului Baharosh is all dependent on the head. Whatever we do here in our body is coming from a direction given from our brain. Shisham hamochin, that's where the intellect is, or the consciousness is. Shemechayin et kol hakoma, that gives life and life force to the entire stature of the human body, and therefore of the year. Ki yadu, as is known. Shechiyuv kol haguf, chiyut kol haguf, ad siponei haregel, for the life force of the entire body, from head to the toenails. Hakol nimshach me'amoach, it all comes from the brain matter. Shisham ikar mishkan neshama, that's where the neshama, the main indwelling of the soul is. Hamachayet kol haguf, that gives life to the entire body. Kol ever ve'ever, kivichiyuto, each limb and each organ according to its need. Kmo ken mamash, so also with the year. Nikra Yom HaKadosh v'Hanora Hazeh, Rosh Hashanah. This day is called the head, Rosh Daika. Dahanu shebo ikar hamoach ve'achiyut shel kol hashana. So he's telling us to prepare ourselves to go into Rosh Hashanah as if we're going into an energy box, where our energy is going to be rearranged, and we're going to come out a new person. It's going to be 23 days. We're going to go through this tunnel, this wind tunnel, and come out a whole reorganized person, the true person who we really are. There's a mashal was told me maybe 45 years ago by Rabbi Pear in New York. He says a person was in a Korea concentration camp, and he was given a chance after months and perhaps even years to go down he was given a new pair of clothes. He went down to the lake to swim, and he left his clothes on a rock. And when he came out, the clothes had been stolen, and he had to put on his old clothes. That's like a person putting on his old clothes after all these 23 amazing days, as going back and doing what I did beforehand. Whereas what's going on during these 23 days is a whole renewal of our being. Everything is new. So that's that Torah, and he goes a little bit further in that. The one on the right, I'm sorry to skip, but this is to get the essence of the one. Rosh Hashanah hu Yom Hadin Gadol. It is the day of judgment. And it's Gadol and Norah. It's awesome, because everything is hanging in the balance. How Hashem will do and unfold the next year, which president, which government, which everything of that whole thing, down to the details of every money market, every bursa, every stock exchange, everything is not depending on anything else except Hashem's plan. And Hashem's plan depends on us, on our consciousness of His being the director. So it's a day of judgment. Judgment is the weighing in the scales of everything in order to decide in what needs to be done, in order to bring all of mankind to the next stage, in order to bring mankind to its next stage. Ve'az mitokav adin shemitorer az, as then now in the face of this powerful judgment that is awakened, then tzrichin levatel atzmo legamri ad sheyavo letachlit habitul. What's the best way to go into Rosh Hashanah? There's a verse that he brings in another place. It's from Isaiah, that when we had the Iraqi war back with Saddam Hussein, there was a verse that people were saying when they were doing these closed rooms, right?
Cheder Atum.
The Cheder Atum, the closed rooms, and the verse from Isaiah was, enter a short while. What was the actually thing? I may not be able to remember it, but it was like completely as if it was telling us, go into the closed rooms. And the closed rooms, meaning to say the closed room of your heart, the inner holy of holies of your being. Go into those closed rooms and mivatal yourself legamri, completely nullify your ego. Ad sheyavo letachlit habitul, till you get to the maximum level of nullification of ego, of me being the one who runs my life. You'll come back into that. You'll come back as the responsible one who has to run your life and make responsible decisions. But this is like you coming into Bittul as an important connection with the source, then when you come back out, and the same thing when you bow, you then stand up. Bowing is not how we walk around the world. We bow in order to connect to the deeper level of who's really the one who's in charge of our lives. And then Hashem says, now stand up. So the same thing with going into bittul, into self-nullification, is not an end in itself. It's a means to get to a higher level of true self. The tachlita bitul v'liyot nichlal bein, so be included in the infinite. Have your finiteness included in the infinite. Give up yourself completely. V'listakel ala tachlit, to see that the whole purpose of existence is this, is the connection to the infinite. We came from the infinite, we're going to the infinite, and the infinite is now all there is also, but the illusion is created that there's something other than the infinite. When we close our eyes, what Rabbi Nachman calls atzimat enayim, the closing of the eyes to the illusion of this world, then we connect to that deep level of the infinite that is here and present in our lives. Shisham kulo achad, there in that deep place, all is one. Kulo tov, all is good. Bisham mitbatlim kol hadinim. Then all the judgments that were hanging over the world become nullified. Because we connect to, it's like the Chavetz Chaim said about exile, is when we understand what the exile is for and we do tshuva, then Hashem has no more need to have the exile. It's no, the exile has no more usefulness. It's all over. So when we do the absolute ultimate work of inner connection to God, then there's no more reason for any judgments to hang over us. It's the same idea in the Talmud is if you say Amen Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivorach, if you say in Kaddish, Hashem, may your great name be blessed and revealed and penetrate down to the lowest and darkest places in the world, then if you say it with all of your might and all of your intention, Mevatlim Gezerah Shel Shavim Shana, then they nullify a decree of 70 years, which is basically all of a lifetime. Whatever was hanging over you becomes clean when you connect to this deep inner level. That's basically all I can say. And he says, this is what Bechinat Hashena V'Hadormita Shorosh Hashanah, which I can't explain. Shu Bechinat Shena Shemesalek Mevatel Da'ato V'Nichlal B'Tachlit Shu Bechinat Ha'or Ha'Ein Sof. What, just briefly, in the Ari, in the Ari, much more that we can possibly explain here, but the Ari speaks about a certain sleep that happens on Rosh Hashanah. It's similar to the sleep of Adam in the Garden of Eden, when he put Adam into a tardema. The word tardema comes into English as in the word dormitory. In Spanish is dormir. So what does tardema mean? Deep sleep. He put Adam into a deep sleep so he could separate Eve from him, from his back. So this 10 days is a separation that's going to go on from Rosh Hashanah until two things that were connected back to back, which he calls, I'm going to try and give this over to you in a second. Two things that were connected back to back now are separate, and they can come together face to face. So the symbolism is like this, is that we are connected to Hashem back to back. It's called a dependency relationship. We're not, in Shemayim, in heaven, we are totally dependent upon receiving our life force from Hashem, and we don't do anything to receive it. And there's a certain amount of embarrassment. So Hashem says, I'm going to make a world where I'm going to separate you from me. And at first it's going to be terrible because you're going to feel total separation. But it's in order that when you're going to do things that are becoming mature in your ability to know me and see me and come into face-to-face relationship with me. So in the middle is going to be a difficult time called exile and the hiding and the falling to sleep. But the shofar is the waking up from that sleep and the coming back together into a higher relationship that culminates on Yom Kippur and then culminates even more on Simchat Torah. I haven't said I haven't explained it, but it's a very beautiful thing that the Ari does. And perhaps in years to come, you'll hear more about it in this year or whatever. I will relax now. I'll sit back. Let's sing a song.
Name of the book of Nachman Chuni.
It's a 4-volume series called Likutei Eitzot Mishulash. The 3rd volume is called Shuvat Hashanah. Shlomo taught out of it all the time. Feel yourself in this special city that we're in, the city of the Beit HaMikdash, the city of Hashem, Yerushalayim, Yireh Shalem, the perfection of Yira, of consciousness, awareness, and the perfection of Shalem, of Midot, of the perfection of the human personality, the perfection of truth, and the perfection of goodness. This is the city we're in. This is what it means to be here. That's what we come here for, is to get balanced, is to get reset. And then if we stay here, great. But even if we have to leave, it's like passing through the eye of the needle. Bring your thread here, pass it through, and pull it back to wherever you're going. And take Yerushalayim with you. Take it with you. And bring more of Yerushalayim to wherever you live. Thank you. Bringing it back to Berkeley, David.
10 years soon.
Lulei Toratecha Shashua Az avadati be'oni Lulei Torah Azavaditi Be'oni Lulei Torah Avadeti be'oni na 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 Please Hashem, just feel your presence and make more space for you in our life. And, because that's really what we're yearning for. And, your cleansing and your cleaning and your love. You put us into this school that we're in order to train us and to prepare us for amazing things. When the going gets rough and it becomes like almost like what's going on here? Our lives are endangered. We're not in Geula yet. We need you so much. So you told us that if we call out to you, if we turn to you, if you know that it's you who's doing it, that would make the difference. That would turn the tables. That would be the game changer. Please help us to be that people that you want us to be.
Don't forget to pay for the class, please.
Yeah, we have a sign-in sheet and a box. It's 30 shekels.
And before we go, I want to thank you for Sutton and the Yeshiva and whatever his name. For Sutton, you've done a wonderful year. And we're looking forward to a wonderful year with you next year. Thank you so much. Thank you for your strength.
You too, Reb Shlomo.
Good health. With inspiration. And the next class is going to be after Sukkot because when we first started, next Tuesday is Rosh Hashanah. So we're just finishing Rosh Hashanah, then comes Yom Kippur is coming on Tuesday, I believe. And then comes Sukkot. So after Sukkot, we come again.
When you sign on to this list, then you'll get an email.
We don't have a secretary. It might be a little bit slow, but eventually we'll get on.
No class on Yom Kippur?
The ultimate class is on
Anybody
the
know the secretary is looking for a part-time job?
Is there anyone here who reads German?
I do.
I don't want